This is not a test. Stay calm in an orderly fashion. Make your way to the lifeboats.
Mayday, the ship is sinking.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to our Wednesday podcast where we say we talk about deep issues, but really we just talk about whatever we want to talk about. So, thanks for tuning in with us.
Facts on facts.
Facts on facts. I'm glad you guys are tuning in with us on this Wednesday. We're just going to have a conversation today, see where it goes, kind of like we do on most Wednesdays. We tried the formulated questions. We tried the deep thoughts, and it's like, it doesn't feel very natural. So we just kind of decided to have a conversation about either where we're going or what we're doing or, some thoughts that are on our mind, but we try to keep it pertaining to recovery for the most part. I think everything pertaining to life one way or another, though, pertaining to our morals one way or another. So that's going to be our goal through this podcast, is keeping it pertain to the individual listening. So with that, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Life on life's terms. We are finishing up the Recovery Coach Academy. We are doing ethics. We're doing a cert. Life is always, it's good. It's just spinning really fast. And I'm in this really kind of interesting place and I think a lot of people get to this place in their recovery. And I think they get in there in just regular life, which is you start to ask God, what do you want from me? Like what, not in a bad way, but like, what is it? What more can I be doing to honor you? What more can I, and this is specifically, I'm talking from my faith here. So for those of you who are non-religious, you may not find this interesting, or you may find it interesting, maybe thinking about it in the like spectrum of the universe. What is my destiny? What is my plan? What am I supposed to be partaking in? Because there's been a lot of things in my life that have been, it feels like thrust upon me,
right?
And it's difficult to explain. It's like I've just walked into them. Like it hasn't been necessary. Like I had effort and I partook in some of what has happened to me, but ultimately, like I just keep on walking the path that I've been walking, and these things start to happen, and these doors start to open, and things start to improve and get better. And I start to feel in a place now, in particular, where I'm feeling like that needs to happen again, but it's like I don't know what it looks like. Like I've reached the top of the company hierarchy. I've reached, as far as my profession goes.
I'm still your boss.
Though. Yeah, you're still my boss. That's right. No, but I've reached manager, where I need to be, maybe in my physical life, but I am getting to that point. Is like, am I where I need to be in my spiritual life? Am I where I need to be in my church life? Do I need to start improving there? So that's where I'm at, man. How are you?
Yeah. How am I? Who am I? What am I?
Where am I? My house.
Yes. Hey, I know that one. I'm doing pretty good, man. We kind of talked about it a while back, but I've really been getting into working out, which has been really nice.
You can tell you're dropping the weight, by the way.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling it. I looked in the mirror this morning. I was like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually confident. I wouldn't wear a t-shirt for the longest time. Just a plain t-shirt. I had to have something over it for the longest time, and now I'm just wearing a t-shirt. Like I feel confident enough to wear this, and like I haven't dropped a ton of weight. I put on some muscle, but like I'm seeing that and I'm like, man, that's awesome. I'm doing something about it. So it's making my confidence boost up a lot.
You look good, dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks. And then I'm eating healthier, so that's helping my. I feel like my hormones. I guess I'm taking vitamins and stuff. Not hormones, but my chemicals and stuff. I don't know. I'm balanced.
My chemical imbalance in my brain.
I'm getting my micronutrients and stuff like that. I'm not eating junk food, so that's helping me a lot as far as like my mental status goes. My motivation, my energy, stuff like that. Like I'm drinking coffee. I usually would drink 200-300 milligram energy drinks a day. Yeah. That's a problem. And that was like how I got my energy, but now I'm getting my energy from other things. I'm drinking like 1-2 cups of coffee a day. Sometimes a little more. Sometimes I go by Big B and get a cold brew or something like that. But that is really cool to me, to be able to see like those changes. So that's really exciting. And then the working out thing is like, it's giving me like, it's making my days longer.
Yeah.
Because I've had this issue where I'm like, man, the weeks are going by so fast because I'm busy. I'm just like, work is busy. I go home and I'm like tired. But now it's like I get off work and I'm working out, and then I'm like, man, was that only one day? You know, it feels like more than one day. I did
Sure.
a lot of stuff, you know? So that's really cool. I really resonate with what you were saying, because I remember when I was in rehab, I'm a Christian too. You know, we're both on the same faith spectrum. I think a little bit different, I think, in our beliefs, but pretty similar. I cried out in rehab, man. This is where I kind of got reconnected into my faith, was in rehab. There's a faith-based track that I went to. And that's kind of like where I started to like cling to a higher power. I needed something, guidance in my life, because I knew whatever is out there, it's not me. And that was like what I found to be true. And I cried out and I was like, man, what is there for me out here? What is the purpose of me being here? Because I've been using, I started smoking weed when I was young, man. I can't remember if it was before I was 14 that I started smoking weed. I can't remember exactly when it was. I remember like the first time I smoked, but I don't know how old I was. And then I started doing meth when I was 16, because I had my own car, but it was like right after I turned 16. I started doing meth, man. And like, I really, like, I sold weed when I was doing weed. All my friends were surrounded by or made because of weed. And then the meth, it was the same thing with that. So like my whole life was centered around substances. So when I got to rehab, I'm like, normal.
Yeah. Normal. What am I supposed to do with normal?
Yeah. I cried out and I was basically like, what is the point of me being here? Like, how does this actually, this doesn't make sense, because all I've done is drugs. What could you possibly have for me in a good point? And at that point, something popped in my head, and it was minister through your testimony. And I believe 100% that was divine, because I didn't even know what that meant when it was. So I'm like, minister through my testimony. What?
What'd you say to me?
Yeah.
What you talking about, Willis?
What? No. So yeah, it was a big moment for my life. And I think it's kind of cool, because I got into a substance use field and stuff. And I've done speaker meetings, and I go to 12-step meetings and things like that. So I get a chance to kind of minister through my testimony in a way, and talk about how life can change through avenues. Like, obviously at work, I'm not proselytizing anybody. It's not my business. I if someone wants to see my faith through my actions, awesome. But at work, I don't feel the need to shove it down anyone's throat. I don't feel the need to shove it down anyone's throat in a meeting. I have my beliefs, and those are my beliefs. And if somebody sees that and they're like, man, I like what that guy has, I wonder what it is, I'll tell them. So with that being said, it's kind of cool that was like something that kind of came to fruition in my life. And then the other part of what you said is how it came to fruition in my life. So like me getting into treatment, I went and I said I needed help. And then all of a sudden I was like one last hoop to ground. Mom's like, hey, you're going today. I called him. I'm like, oh. And I didn't even want to go. I didn't even know, like, I was just going through the motions, man. Cause I was depressed. My dopamine was gone. And I was just ready for something. I didn't know what, but I'm like, something has to change, because I can't live like this anymore. And I seriously, man, I was ready to kill myself.
Yeah.
At that point in my life. Because life was just so mundane. It was so terrible.
Sure.
And I just walked into treatment, and then all of a sudden, like, Endeavor House came around and started talking at my treatment facility one night that I was supposed to be somewhere else, but I ended up there. I was supposed to be in another track, but I ended up at that track where they came. And I got to hear about Endeavor House, and I did not want to go to sober living. I want to go home, bro. I was healthy-ish for the first time in my life. Yeah, my brain was clear-ish for the first time in my life that I really remember that well. And I wanted to go home and make things right. I wanted to be right for my family. I wanted to be with my family. You know, I wanted to go back and show people how good I was doing. But something about that, I was like, that's where you need to go. That's all that could come up when Endeavor House was talking on 1 year sober living house in Lansing. I'm from Iowa. I want to go back home. And still almost 3 years later, I'm still in Lansing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
divine serendipity, man.
Yeah. And I walked in there, and then with my job at Gap, the one dude I knew in Lansing that I met in rehab, I probably shouldn't have said that. Let's cut that out.
Yeah.
All right. So the one guy I knew in Lansing ends up being my boss. He ends up being my first job. He was the only person I knew inside of Lansing, and he was the one who got me my job as a key holder. And then kind of lo and behold, as things progress, I meet this guy, you know, he's kind of a big, tall dude, kind of clumsy, you know,
Yes.
balding on top a little bit.
A lot of it.
But no, I mean, and, you know, being my mentor, and then through that relationship that just came upon me, like, I walked into it. I did nothing to deserve that relationship. It became a job.
Yes.
And then that was the job where I feel fulfilled at. I love this job. I'm fueled about it. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, this sucks, but all in all, it's a great job. Like, I really feel like if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Sure.
I feel that. Even though sometimes it's like, I'd rather be at home taking a nap
For
right now.
sure. There's many days in my life, man. And here's the thing. And I said in the midst of you talking there, like divine serendipity, it is the ability to like seemingly unrelated events culminating together for you to recognize that they were leading you on a path, and then divine that they were subject to that way because God allowed them to be that way. And that's what I keep on feeling, man. And there gets a really weird point, and I don't know if it happens for other people. I know at least for me, where it's like divine serendipity is really easy to identify when you look back on things. Like you look back and you're like, everything that has happened in my life has led me to this moment right now. And many of the things that I have learned, I utilize in my job. Many of the things and conversations and the places that I've been, I now am utilizing those so that I can be better at my job, yada, yada, yada. But I think very rarely you start to look forward and you start to say to yourself, I know that I'm still in that. I know that I'm still in that divine serendipity place. I know that things are happening to me and I'm taking part in things right now for a future purpose. But what is that purpose? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is like, you know, we've talked quite a bit of like, I'm getting more, I guess, more involved in ministry, more, and not necessarily the ministry that I am a part of, but more or less like, how do I serve my God in a wider scope? Do I start podcasting more, or do I podcast towards him and make a podcast for that? Do I start constructing sermons that I would want to hear and then start recording those on YouTube? And I've started reaching out to ministry partners that over my walk in recovery, I have met between my walk in recovery and my faith, but I've met over time and start having conversations with him about different things. So I'm at this odd point right now where it's like, I feel that I need to be doing more. I'm not sure what that more is, but it feels like the dam's about to break. It feels like that whatever that more is going to be revealed to me much sooner than I think. And it's like, it's on the horizon and I can see that like the sun is popping up over the horizon and I just need to start walking in that direction.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I think, yeah, I know you very well as far as like, you like to look at the future a lot. I can't do that. I know you're very future oriented. You think about, you know, what's the plan, what the thing is. My advice in that, what it's worth, I guess.
Not worth much, but yeah. All right, I'll hear it.
I'll still say it.
Yeah.
You know? Just take those steps, man. The way I look at it is like everything in my life is accumulated to one thing, and that is day to day, do the next right thing.
Yes.
Do the right thing for where you want to end up. And I really want to be careful about this because I'm not saying to have no direction in your life. For the listeners out there, that is something I feel like can be very misconstrued when we say like one day at a time. It's not saying have no direction in your life. It's saying focus, be present.
Yes.
In the moment. Because if you're focused on the future so bad, you're going to miss the next right thing that's in front of you. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. And I 100% agree with you. And I have been balancing that. And that's something that I've been in my morning meditations quite a bit of balancing just be present, be here, be current, because you're doing everything right in a sense. You're doing everything that you need to be doing for the future to play out the way that it needs to play out. However, there are things in your future that you're not going to be prepared for because you don't even know what you don't know about them. That's a self-evident truth, right?
Right.
Like you can't prepare for something if you don't know about it. But there are things that you can do that will make you as a human being prepared for any circumstance. And one of those things, like for me, and this isn't by any means for anybody, and here's the thing, and I think, you know, it's probably safe to say at this point, this is not a religious podcast. Like we talk about recovery, but today we're talking about religion. We're talking about our faith. We're talking about our faith walk. So if this doesn't catch your fancy, that's okay. Last week, I think we talked some politics. We talked about, you know, going into some political things and going into how that relates to recovery. Next week, I'm sure we'll talk about other meditations in relation to recovery but for today, I mean, it's our podcast. We get to do what we want. I guess that's what I'm saying. But I'm at that point where for me, at least, my God, my soul, my spirit is telling me like, Reed, be calm, be serene. Like I told you the circumstances around it. I was madder than a hatter yesterday. I was very frustrated with the circumstance that took place that I felt was unjustified. I felt like it was like there's it would be easy to attribute it to miscommunication, but that wasn't it. It was like this was malicious. This was like, this did not feel good. This did not feel okay. It felt like I was being a victim of a circumstance that I not only had nothing to do with, but I was in the right for sure on. And the only thing that got me out of it, that got me out of that, like, how dare them, or are you kidding me, or all that kind of stuff.
Don't you know
Don't
who
you?
I am?
The audacity, the unmitigated wit. No, the only thing that got me out of that was my wife very, very delicately and lovely brought my son down, said, let's go for a walk outside. It was like 70 degrees outside, by the way, yesterday. It was awesome.
Yeah.
We were talking about, like, if you just took a snapshot of this moment, you wouldn't know if it was spring or fall. But anyways, like you because you couldn't see the temperature, but you wouldn't know if it was spring or fall. Anyways, so let's go on a walk. So we went on a walk, and I vented to her, as I am apt to do, of just saying, like, man, I felt like this, and, how dare them, and really egotistical, like I can get sometimes. And she talked, very pleasantly listened, because she is a better person than I am, but pleasantly listened, and okay. And what do you think about that? Yada, yada, yada. Yeah, we both have troubles, yada, yada, yada. And then finally it's just like, you know what? I'm done arguing about this stuff. I'm done being frustrated about it, because it's like, I just need to be present. I'm getting to go on a walk with my, month and a half old son. He hasn't been outdoors that much, obviously, because he was born in the winter, but let's just have fun. And by the time the walk was over, I felt pretty darn good. And I felt, that all that heated frustration and pent up aggression was just like, it was abated for now.
That's called healthy coping.
Well, yeah. And I get home, and the individual that I had this blowout with had texted me, and they said there was other things going on, and spewed at you and all that kind of stuff. And it didn't justify what happened, not by any means. And it really wasn't an apology in there, but whatever. And it just, because of that walk, I was able to say, I understand. Keep me in the loop. I also understand. And I was able to logically spell out some of the things that I was dealing with and some of the things that needed to happen. But for me, it was in that walk, in that moment, just being completely disconnected from the future, completely disconnected from the past, getting to vent out what my frustration was, and then keep on walking. That's what really made me realize, like, being present in the moment is what matters to you at this point. Being present for this moment right now, what's happening, is really what's going to continue to get me, because that's where I find my serenity. Because yeah, you're absolutely right. I have to future trip a lot. I'm a business owner. I'm a manager. Like, guess what? My future tripping it's a natural portion of my job. I have to be thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted. All the I's are dotted. All the I's are dotted. I have to think about all of those things. But I'm getting more and more, and I believe God is putting it more and more on my heart, of just like, be present in the moment. These moments are slipping by, and you're missing them because you're thinking of the future. Like, be present in the moment. And yes, the future is going to come, and yes, you will have to be prepared for those things, and there's going to be things that you need to do, but be present.
Absolutely. All right. Hello. Oh, you're right. Today's Thursday. Never mind. Yeah, for sure. I was just double checking, but yeah, I'll make sure I send that link out here in just a bit. But we're recording a podcast episode right now, so I'm going to jump back on that, and then I will send out that link, and I'll let you guys in this afternoon. So, yep, bye. Cool.
All right.
I'll kick back off. Yep. Yeah, man, it's kind of what I guess where this. I don't even think this podcast is going to be about religion very much. I think your faith is very much playing a role in what we're talking about. But the one that living in the moment that you're talking about, it's so pertinent for our serenity, for our happiness, you know? So I guess what I'm getting at is like we talk about all the time, a stake in the ground, having a spot that we're working towards, something in our life where we're pulling towards like an overall goal. Like for me, I want to be a manager in the company someday. That's my goal. You know that. I've made that clear. I make it very clear.
Yeah, very, very clear.
I'm a self-proclaimed manager at the moment. I don't manage anything or anybody, but I am a manager. You know, pay has not increased yet. I'm still working on self-proclaiming that, but no, I mean that's my goal. You know,
name it and claim it. You're one of those types of
one of
Christians.
those type of believers.
Yeah. Name it and claim it.
Yep. If I keep saying it one day.
How does it? Yeah, does that work? You not only have to say it to God and to the universe, but you also have to say it to your boss.
Exactly. Yes. So you know, I have that goal. I want to be influential in the company that I work for one day. I want to own a house, and I have a goal for that. I have a time set down. I have steps that I need to take to do that. I want to go back to school. I'm going back hopefully rather soon. If I ever fill out my FAFSA, I got to find my tax information for that. I got to find my tax information anyways, because now it's tax season and I have to get the last year's tax return anyway. So yeah, there's legal repercussions if I don't do it now. So, you know, it's kind of more pressing.
It's something I need to do.
Right. There's not much option here.
Yeah.
So I have these goals in my life, but if I fixate on those goals, then it's dangerous for me.
Sure.
If I fixate on the next right thing, it's a lot easier for me. And it's not fixated, I guess. It's just not fixating even on the next right thing. It's like being in the moment and seeing where that next right thing might appear that will help me towards my goals, or help me be a decent person, or help me in my recovery. Because roundabout everything that I'm doing good is helping me towards those goals in the end. You know, you get what I'm saying? So like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you're talking about, it's like when I focus on the past, when I focus on the future, either I focus on the past and it's on resentments and I lose my serenity and I start to feel angry. I have people that, you know, make me angry sometimes. You know, I'm not a saint. I'm a very mild mannered person. I'm a very calm person, but some things do really get me. Sometimes I take out my frustration on people who don't deserve it. My sister and me have argued a couple times where I've been like, well, I was just mad at something else, I guess. And I go up and apologize. And
Yes.
You know, not I guess, but like, I'm like, yeah, I had a really stressful day at work. It's not an excuse, but I do apologize. There was and she's like, I had a really stressful day too. And same thing. So it's like, those things do happen. But that's when I focus on the past. Like I focus on that stress at work. I focus on that thing that happened when I was a kid. I focus on that thing that happened in my addiction. Those things will keep me not angry
in the danger zone.
Exactly. There we go. It will keep me like in a certain mindset that's not okay for me to be in.
Kenny Loggins? No. Okay.
Yeah. No, I've heard Danger Zone, but I don't know what it's from. I thought it was from Wayne's World, to be honest with you.
Top Gun, my friend. Top Gun. But okay.
Sounded something Wayne's Worldy how you said it.
Top Gun. It's the danger zone. That was Archer quoting Top Gun, quoting Kenny Loggins.
Well, if anybody has ever not known where that comes from, it sounds like Wayne's World.
Wayne's World.
See, like that.
Party time. Excellent.
And now we're copyrighted. So I guess when I focus on the past, that's what happens. And when I focus on the future, I get stressed because I'm like, oh, I got to do this thing. I got to make this happen. It's not here yet. I got to make sure this isn't like, it's like, I cannot afford to do that. And I don't know. I know you and me are very different in that sense. Like, I know you think that you're like, I need to focus on the present more, but you also really like to focus on the future. Mm-hmm. I have a tendency to focus on the past of like my mistakes. We've done a lot of bad stuff. I've missed a lot of opportunities. And I would sometimes I like to think about that. Like, man, what if I did this when that guy did this? Would that have ended the situation different? But the bottom line is I have to remind myself, like, if you keep doing that, you're not going to do the right thing in the present. You're going to miss the opportunity again. So it's like the only thing I can do is progress forward in my life now. Because I mean, quite frankly, like I've heard some really eye-opening stuff the last like 2 weeks, man. Like one is like, you better become okay with who you are because you'll never be a different person. I was like, whoa, I wasn't ready for that, man.
Put a smile on your face, make the world a better place.
Not that. No.
90s.
No, I like that. Man, I like that. Actually, it reminds me of a guy when I used to work. He used to give us cards, and it said "Thank you for smiling." When I worked at fast food, it was literally just a card. It said "Thank you for smiling."
That was your tip.
Yeah.
I have no money, but this I have to give you. It's like
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was kind of cool though. He did it at all the fast food restaurants you'd go into. Like I'd hear about it from other people at different restaurants. Like, yeah, this guy gave me a card. So thanks for smiling. Like,
Hey, it's my
I know that
boy.
guy.
It's my boy Jimmy.
Yeah.
No, but I agree, man. Maybe I don't know if it's a superpower, much to my detriment. It's a mutation. I don't know. It's something that I definitely train my brain to do because I past tripped a lot. And then I slowly rework my brain where it's like, all I think about is the future now. And all I think about is the future. And I constantly, the best way I can depict it is I am an individual that lives 2 years in the, 2 years, 2 years in the future. No, like 2 weeks in the future.
I'm from the year 2020.
2030. No, but
it's bad here.
you don't want to be here. Run away. Yeah. Don't crush the butterfly. For anybody that knows the butterfly effect. But good movie.
Yeah, I almost spit coffee.
Yeah, good movie. Yeah. Oh, side note, what happened to Ashton Kutcher? Actually, Ashton Kutcher is doing amazing things. He's not an actor anymore. He has a program
He's
that
trying to save sex trafficking. Right?
Dude, it's like sex trafficking children, dude. Like he has like a crazy sweet program that does it. And he's dedicated like all of his time and resources to
Good cause, man.
Yeah,
Good
it's
cause.
awesome. It's like, no, don't come back to acting. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
That's where I loved you as a comedic actor, thought you were hilarious.
Yeah.
Michael Kelso loved you in that 70s show, but what you're doing is actually important. That was entertaining to me. That's actually relevant and important. You're making the world a better place.
Right.
But I constantly am living in like 2 weeks in the future, and all of my present thoughts are manifesting on like what needs to be happening 2 weeks in the future. How do I need to interact with this individual to get the byproduct of what needs to happen in 2 weeks in the future? And it's constantly like that. And as far as my past goes, I glean the wisdom. I analyzed all my past. I'm good with my past. I'm everything that I've done, everything that's happened to me, everything that was perpetrated upon me, all the physical, any violence, anything that was done to me or I did to others or whatever is now done. It's put to bed. I have no feelings towards them. It's like I've been able to completely successfully integrate every last one of those parts into my human being. And I think about them very rarely. When I think about them, no negative emotion. It's just like, yeah, well, is what it is.
That was a thing.
Yeah, it's like that happened. Okay, that happened to me, or I did that, or whatever. Okay. And with that, what I've found with myself is like I've forgotten vast portions of my past. Vast portions of my past. People bring it up and like, oh, I forgot that was even a thing. And the only things that I actually think are relevant are huge impactful events, like things that like my son's birth, obviously, my wedding day. Obviously, certain vacations, fun things. Yes. But the only other thing that I remember is like any wisdom that I could glean out of a situation, any knowledge that I glean out of a situation. That's what I remember. The rest of it's like, don't have Control Alt Delete. Don't have enough space in my head for that stuff. Cause I have to be thinking
stuff. Cause it was copious amounts of drug use.
Yeah. Copious.
My sister,
brittle.
My sister will bring up sometimes. She's like, don't you remember this? And I was like, no.
Hard no.
And it's like these things that were so impactful for her. That's probably why she remembers them and I don't. But I'm just like, no memory of that. And she's like, how do you not remember that? I'm like, did a lot of drugs at a very young age.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I wasn't operating on all of the systems at the time. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's pretty much where it's at. It's like that, and then I probably erase some memories. One bad decision at a time, but.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah, I do remember the most random stuff sometimes, though. Like, I'll just remember some random thing from my childhood.
It just comes to hit you like a bat to the face. You're like,
huh.
Well, that was weird. The thought manifests, and you're like, I didn't think that. That was just threw into my brain.
Right.
Like, I don't know where that came from.
Like, hey, remember that time your granny's 90th birthday out at Wesley Woods? And I'm like,
huh.
I do remember.
I do remember it.
I was like 9.
That was interesting.
There's a picture from that, Vit.
Dude, I remember weird stuff, and I don't know if it's because my brain's hardwired this way now, but like I remember stuff that when I was like 2 and 3.
Right.
Like I've talked to my parents about it, and they're like, "How in the world? Like you shouldn't be able to remember that." I remember like what color the floor was at my house. I remember like weird things that I should not remember. Like my house that I lived in till I was like 2.
Right.
Remember the floor vividly, remember certain portions, remember where the couch was, remember all these things very vividly.
So mine's not as extreme. I don't know if this is normal, but I was like I moved out of my house at 5. I used to live in Milo. I've been around 5. It was after my parents got divorced. My mom stayed there for a little bit, and then until she got remarried, and then we moved in with my stepdad, and we moved out of the house. But I remember there's a few memories I have when my dad and my mom were married. They split up when I was 3, 4, maybe, because my parents got remarried when I was 5. I think I don't know. I was pretty young, but I remember memories from when they were married. I remember them talking or like arguing or something like that. Like I remember different memories. But I can tell you the exact layout of that old house I lived in. I moved out at 5, and I can tell you like what the rooms look like, where all the rooms are located.
So weird, dude.
Yeah,
Why is the memory integrated like that?
right.
You know?
But I can't remember last week.
Yeah.
Something
Right. Like what happened? What happened this last week? Yeah, man.
I was like, what'd you do this week? It's like, that's a good question. Let me check my calendar.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Oh, dude, I love doing that. Like, because we both have to do somewhat of, it's not excessive, but we do have to do data entry. It's like, man, I have to keep my old calendars from like 2020 and 2021, like just so that I can flip back and, you know, I'll have like a case note associated with something, but it's like, shit. Like I forget what day it was, or I forget what time it was, or I forget like who did I meet and was there another case note that should have been here and this, that, and something else. So I have to like look back to December and you know, November of last year and say, that's right, I met with him on this day, him on this day. And I don't know if this works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look at like a day in your calendar 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden that day just pours into your head of like, you remember itemized everything that happened that day?
No.
That happens quite often with me. I'm like, what do we do? Oh yeah. And then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened.
Right. Yeah. And for me, it's mostly I blankly stare at a case note. It's like filled out and I'm like,
start praying.
Just stare at it. And then I'm like, oh yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of remember that.
Ugh.
We were getting a license. Is that, yeah, that's what it says. Yeah. All right, cool.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's right. I mean, there hasn't been a case note. Well, at least I don't remember. That's the worst if you lose a case note. Oh my gosh. You're like, what did we work on? Oh no.
Just go back and ask them. Be like, hey, do you remember January 22nd?
What were we working on?
What did we do that day?
Oh my God. It's awful,
and
dude.
what time did we meet? That's the other thing. Because like when I work with clients, it's back to back. I do this sometimes and I hate the fact that I do it. I forget to write the end time at first
Oh,
until later. And then I have to go through and find my case notes because I do back to back to back to back to back. So I can't overlap any. Otherwise it won't allow it in the data entry. And then I have to go back and change it.
yep.
And I have a basic, like after our first appointment, it's usually around 30 minutes that I spend with somebody, roundabout.
Yep.
And it's like, that's normal, but sometimes it's 15 because the person really, there's no reason they're even meeting me that week. You know, we just have a brief, how are you doing? Check in. Sometimes it's an hour because we had a lot to work on. And then I forget to write that down. And then I'm like, oh,
There is nothing worse, I think, in this world as far as data entry goes, of you accidentally enter the wrong time or the wrong date in a case note, like online.
Oh yeah.
Because then you're playing the searching game.
Trying to figure out which one
You're like,
wrong.
oh God. Like you have like 60 staring you in the face of like 60 events that you've recorded. And you're trying to record number 61 and it won't let you because it's saying that you have the same time or the same date as that time. You're like, oh, I gotta go through all 60 of these to figure out which one I accidentally hit the wrong button on.
Right.
Or like when I was doing like searching the calendar, I accidentally hit a date over than I was supposed to.
Yeah, because we don't just skip over those.
No. Nope.
Never. But no, yeah, no, it's definitely, I've done that a couple times, or I've entered the time. There's actually been some times where I enter AM to PM or something like that, and like, it just messes everything up because in that whole day, I got whoever the director who handles that stuff over at RPAHP, Wednesday Health Network. I got an email from her one time. She's like, it said like there was 2,000 and something units on one person, and I'm just gonna guess that's not normal winky face. And I
didn't ask.
Yeah, I was like, I'm doing. I got my contractual obligation hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't ask. Yeah, I did. Yeah, that was that. Can you prove it wasn't? That's what I thought.
Yeah. Right. No. If you're listening, that's not what.
Yeah, that's not. We ended up having to change that. But
yeah,
no,
we
man, I
fixed it, but
because the worst thing is, and it's just the nature of what we have to do. For the last 2 years, without fail, we get a list of things of like, 2,000 data entries. it's always an excessive. There's excessive, and then there's whatever this is. This is, you just hit excessive and kept going. But like 2,000 data entries that it's all like little microbial things need to be switched on each and every one of them. And they'll categorize them like these 10, this needs to be changed. But these 40 over here, this needs to be changed. But this 100 over here, this is fine. But this other 50, this needs to be changed over here. And it's not the same thing. So it's like you have to go in individually, like boom, 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 hit each one to make sure that's all that. And then you got to do it in a time frame, because before the time frame hits, everything will lock. So all of a sudden, like, you can't touch the data entry, and there's not really anything anybody can do. Right. And you're like, oh God, here we go. Now I got to call
the base.
Yeah. Then you got to call our funders and be like, so, you know, the thing that you told me that I needed to do in a specific time frame? Yeah, I didn't do that. So can you open this up for me? And we'll both just pretend it didn't happen, and then we'll go on. And we're so fortunate. The people that manage our contracts are our funders are saints. We do not deserve them. And I've said that several times to them personally. We do not deserve them.
They don't deserve us.
No. Okay. We do not deserve them. They are awesome.
I messed it up.
You know, we've had funders and contract managers before that are horrific, that like, it's garbage from A to Z, but these people that we have now are amazing.
Yeah, no, I've had nothing, but I don't really contact with them because I'm not management yet. Yet, keyword. But yeah, no, I haven't had much contact with them, but like everything I've noticed, like if there's been an issue, if there's something like that, they'll help us out. I've had no issues with like, no, you cannot do that because there was a deadline, but it's been like, yeah, we'll help you out. We'll make sure you get what you need to done within reason.
Well, they like us too, because we had
that body one time.
So yeah, right. Really cool. Well, we were one of the only 3 in the midst of COVID that met our contractual obligations, and one of the other 3, the reason they were able to meet their contractual obligations is because about 3 weeks into the beginning of COVID in March of 2020, they called us and said, "How are you doing this? Can you show us how to do this? Please show us how to do this." And we did, and they met their contractual obligations. So I want to say it was over 100 plus individuals that didn't meet their obligations. We were one of 3. Yeah. So they like us a lot.
Yeah. Remember when we were talking about religion?
Yeah. Well, that's how these meditations go. I mean,
yeah, I do want to tie back into something, because there was something else I wanted to talk on, and that was, what was it? It's gone now.
Really?
Go ahead.
Really?
No, it's gone.
Really?
Now. There was something.
Was it about religion?
It wasn't like really tied to religion. It was more on the recovery base of what we were talking about, just kind of a broader spectrum. Because we talked about the 1 day at a time thing, and there was some more that I really wanted to speak on. But I don't really remember what that was. But
when we started talking about data entry and everything went out the frame.
Just like every time we talk about data entry, my brain kind of just goes, yep.
Just blue screen.
It reminds me of sometimes like you guys will talk to me about funding, and since I'm ignorant in this subject, because like it's not part of my job, so I don't know a lot. I know some. I know like my contractual obligations. I know that we get funded from this person and this. And then when we start talking about laws and grant writing and things that are above my pay grade, I do it with my Dr. Smith every once in a while. We'll talk, and she'll be talking about that type of stuff. And I was talking with Sean and her, and we're talking about it. And they're like, "Hunter, what do you think about all this?" I'm like, to be honest with you, I don't know. I'm like, no idea. My brain just goes like click.
Yeah, it's just like, eurythmics playing is so sweet dreams are made of these. What?
It's that little monkey with
the
flashing symbols.
No, I get you, man. And there's a lot of meetings that I have to sit through that are like that. I cannot tell you how many meetings that I've sat in that are like through funding and through other things that are going on in programming, like that I understand what's going on, but it's like okay. So just to be clear, this 2-hour meeting we just had was to tell us that the last 2-hour meeting that we just had 3 months ago, everything is still happening. There's nothing new to report.
Oh,
that's what.
Let me tell you, bro.
Is that what we're doing? Just to make sure. And they're like, well, the one thing that we do have new to report, and here's the one thing that I've noticed a lot of lately, because this is happening. That's during COVID. It's like, oh, one last thing kind of situation. We're removing a bunch of money from funding. Okay, have a good night. And we're like, whoa, wait a second. Hold up. Okay, what did you just say there right at the end? Sorry, we ran over time. We got it in next to me. Email me. email me, we'll get back to you. And like, so that's happened a couple of times lately. That's like, run that past me again there, Chief.
Right. That should have been the
should have led with that.
yeah.
Lead with that next
Some
time.
conversation time there. Yeah. I do know what you're saying as far as the meetings where it's like, why are we having this meeting thing? Sometimes I get put in meetings that are just so above my pay grade to be inside of. Like I
You
get
just
sent-
like go take notes.
yeah, I get sent to like the opioid prevention task force meeting or something, and I'm like, I know about this, but I don't know about this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then they're like trying to split us off in smaller groups where we have conversations. I'm like, the last thing, I'm blending into a crowd right now, and I want to keep it that way.
Well, I'll do you a favor. And this is something that I've noticed quite a bit of. I felt like that a lot at first.
Mhm.
And then I started realizing that when you go into those meetings and you're the one with the idea, you say, this is what we should do, this. Because that's what a lot of those collaboration meetings or coalition meetings are about. It's like, let's get ideas.
Mhm.
When you have the ideas, all of a sudden you're driving a meeting and like
Right.
you show up and you're saying like, we should do this next and this, then this, then this next.
Well, I was sent there when I worked here for about 2 months. So but
Fair
continue.
point. Fair point. No, but it's that's usually what I've found works is like, and this goes out to any recovery coach that is working in the field or any case manager that works in the field. You go into a coalition meeting 9 times out of 10, they lack direction. Seriously. These coalitions are cobbled together. Sometimes they're systematically brought forward to address a specific issue. But the problem is the way that they're addressing the issue, like the way that they want to address the issue, all the people in there are probably already addressing the issue in one way or another in their field. When
Right.
they come together for a coalition meeting, they are hoping, at least in part, that everybody can first get on the same page, but secondly, that new ideas can be generated. Every coalition meeting that I've ever been in, that was the case, is like, we already are doing things, but we want to be doing more things. So now that we have a continuum of care and we're having conversations, we need to figure out what new ground can be broken. And if you are the person at the table that comes with, these are probably what we should be focusing on. This idea, this idea, this
And the
idea.
war on drugs. There we
Yeah.
go. Problem solved.
Well, yeah, the war on drugs, right? Let's go, let's go right back to some Reagan economics and Reagan this and Reagan that, right? Like now you need to don't do the old stuff, really come up with new and innovative ideas and think about those things as a recovery coach in the field. Like if you see gap areas, say like, how can this be filled maybe by one of the coalitions I'm a part of?
Ending the war on drugs.
Yeah, ending the war on drugs. Yeah, that's right. But
plugging people back into society instead of alienating them.
yeah, before we get into any more trouble though,
come on, let's
we're
do it.
already at our time, man.
Yeah.
So just like that, as always, Mondays we do the science of addiction. Wednesdays we do meditations. Friday we interview.